Guys, so obviously, first story for the day. Majority Taylor Greene. I'm mispronouncing the name. It's been a long day. Warns Joe Biden is trying to finish what FDR started by trying to address the problems related to royal poverty, education, and medical care. She warns it's similar to when LBJ passed Medicare and Medicaid. So let's see what she has to say, and then we're going to see what happened with the White House, because they responded.
Lyndon B. Johnson is very similar to Joe Biden. How are they the same? They're both Democrat socialists. Lyndon B. Johnson was the majority leader in the Senate. Does that sound familiar? He was vice president to Kennedy. Joe was vice president to Obama. He was appointed as the president after JFK was assassinated. Then he was elected. His big socialist programs were the Great Society. The Great Society were big government programs to address education, medical care, urban problems, rural poverty, transportation, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, and welfare, the Office of Economic Opportunity, and big labor and labor unions. Now, LBJ had the Great Society, but Joe Biden had Build Back Better, and he still is working on it. The largest public investment in social infrastructure and environmental programs that is actually finishing what FDR started, that LBJ expanded on, and Joe Biden is attempting to complete. Socialism. Meanwhile, we are now $32 trillion in debt. With record high homelessness, 40-year record inflation, we're losing the U.S. dollar as the #1 world currency. We're losing our freedoms. Our government is one big, fat, bloated machine. And it's killing the American dream. Our jobs are centered.
So, as for the speech that she's giving here, the first part of it probably was a bit of a waste. When she's going on about LBJ and FDR and all this sort of stuff, to be honest, the vast majority of people don't care. You know, like, I know who they are because obviously I was watching the interview with JFK's nephew, Robert Kennedy Jr. I know about that sort of stuff from that. But the vast majority of people don't know about it, don't care about it, and it's just a waste of time. She would have been better off just getting straight into the point and talking about how he's, about like record unemployment, record homelessness, crimes going through the roof. Sometimes people really do get lost and they can't see the forest because of the tree. Can't see the forest because of the trees. She would have been far better off just cutting off the first part of this and just going to this
economic opportunity and big labor.
Just starting like from here would have been better. But at the end of the day, obviously the Democrats have responded. The White House responded. White House goes Dark Brandon on Majority Taylor Greene. I'm getting that name wrong. Flips attack back on her, says Huffington Post, which is obviously far left-leaning. They responded with "Caught us." The Biden White House mockingly responded to criticisms from the right Georgia lawmaker. She's not far right. Majority Greene attacked President Joe Biden, went array. It prompted a mocking response from Biden's White House, which Twitter users suggested was Dark Brandon striking back at the extremist Republican once more. Yeah. The problem I have with like Huffington Post and stuff is like all this extra filler. Striking back at the extremist Republican or, FR Republican. It's not needed. It's not true. She's not really that extreme for a Republican, to be honest. And she's definitely not far right. But this stuff here is written because they know that their base is going to lap it up. So Greene, over the weekend, slammed Biden's domestic policies during her speech at the Conservative Turning Point Action Student Activists Conference in Florida. commenters Brian Taylor Cohan shared a video of Greene's speech with a short summary of her criticisms of President. Biden was trying to finish what FDR started in addressing rural poverty, education, and Medicare, Jean said. I believe that's the guy I actually saw the video from, was it? Yeah. Courthouse, the official Twitter account for the White House, fired back. President Biden is working on making life easier for hardworking families, it added. Now, the irony of this situation is that most people don't agree with that. The vast majority of people I've spoken to have said that the Biden economy is in the gutter. So how are you planning on making it easier for hardworking families when they can't even buy food? You know. Twitter users enjoyed the response, and obviously they've gone through and selected their people that back up their statement. But I've saw people going through and on both sides claiming it was a win on both sides, which is ironic because they're both saying the same thing. But one's saying it's a win, the other's saying it's a win. It's like, well, you both kind of win, right? You both didn't win this. It's both sides kind of won. It's impossible for both sides to win. But at the end of the day, like I said, FTG would have been better off knocking some of this speech out because it was just boring. But yeah, at the end of the day, as for this, the Dark Brandon meme is hysterically funny, and not because they're right. It's because like you're literally claiming like someone is like to be Dark Brandon. It's like Dark Batman, for example, right? Was like evil. Like Dark Skywalker was evil, right? And you're claiming that Joe Biden is now evil by claiming he's Dark Brendan. Like you see how this is kind of not what you want? Like it sounds cool, but when you start breaking it down, Dark Brandon is a really bad term. But, you know, not to mention that, you know, F. Joe Biden and Brandon and all that sort of stuff was actually from the mega side because of like the let's go Brandon thing, right? But all they're doing is they're just trying to steal the Brandon and use it for their own beliefs. And that's why they're using it there. Like I say, look, at the end of the day, as for MTG, I think the speech is boring. She would have been better off hammering things like the economy, hammering things like the, like for example, unemployment or homelessness or crime rates. And I presume she obviously does get further into it. She does do that. But it's just the start of it was pretty boring. But let us know what your thoughts in the comment section below regarding that.